Over the past day or so, I have come in contact with someone who claims they're attempting to make Left 4 Dead better with the ideas that, apparently, according to him, are quite popular with the people who he has encountered. While I remain unaware of these friends of his, I do think that the issue he is attempting to get Valve to look at is worthy of an address. With that said, however, that does not mean I believe it to be a positive address needed. This thread has a total of 16 replies at the time of writing this, with the majority being me, the original poster, and another person. However, without much else said, I think we might as well get into it to explain what is going on. If you were to check the Left 4 Dead general discussions recently, you would see a tab entitled Errors and Requests for Valve Games. This thread goes into minor detail as to the actual errors it wishes to be fixed. However, the poster made it clear that he thinks his opinion is the best possible path for Left 4 Dead's future. He added two minor categories regarding CSGO and TF2 in this thread, which is actually against the rules of every game's general discussions tab to post about a different game. But what we are here for, and to focus on today, is the Left 4 Dead portion of his post. Almost instantly, he requests something that's already been done with the maps reported over to Left 4 Dead 2. He wants Valve to fix the errors in the maps of a 12-year-old game, which I find to be absurd. The maps, as seen by my Survival Glitch series, have spots in them which can be exploited by those in the know-how, as well as those looking for a simple way to achieve a goal. I honestly dare say that these glitches make the game that more replayable. Part of the fun I have with the game, at least, is discovering and uncovering these glitches, as well as making them known to those who wonder about them like myself. These glitches are quite fun to use most of the time, and allow for exploration in times in survival beyond what would normally be possible. In Left 4 Dead 1, there aren't proper glows to certain objectives, as well as objects like gas cans. He requests here that they be added. While this isn't a massive change, I still do disagree with it, and it's not really for any reason in particular. I just don't believe that adding a new function to this 12-year-old game, which the sequel fixed and added, is necessary. If anything, it changes the game that most are attempting to return to. Now, the first two that I just called off are rather mild. However, I think the next portion is where true idiocy shines through. His next request is for Valve to update the animations, models, and sounds. This may not seem like a bad thing if you aren't attached to Left 4 Dead, but this hasn't happened for numerous reasons. Two, actually. The original team that worked on Left 4 Dead 1, Turtle Rock Studios, has since split from Valve near the release of Left 4 Dead 2. After this, there's been very minute updates to the original. In fact, a lot of people in which I have talked to actually regard Left 4 Dead 1 animations far superior to its sequel. He is essentially implying that we add Left 4 Dead 2's animations to Left 4 Dead 1. That may or may not be correct. That's just how I read it, and that's how I understood from reading it. The last may be slightly obscure, but this one I actually think takes the cake compared to the rest of the idiocy that I've read. He requests that they add the CSS knife and TF2 butterfly knife as the first melee weapons in the game. And to that, all I have to say is one thing. No. This game does not have melee weapons, and that is, to some, part of the reason Left 4 Dead 1 is better than the second. I personally think this request is beyond obscure, but leads into pure idiocy once more. And last, but not least, is something I semi-agree with. Add a workshop. While I think it is pointless, it would be a nice addition. However, I feel it not to be possible due to the particular method of modding for Left 4 Dead 1. Alas, we reach the end of his request with a bold statement. This game has been forgotten by you, but it needs a lot of attention. Why does it need a lot of their attention? It's 12 years old. It gets about 4,000 players from most, from what I've seen. I would appreciate if you could review my work and approve it as a community update. And right there, in that line, is where I see exactly the reason behind this post. You just want to get attention for your mod pack, and that's interesting. So let's go ahead and give it a look-see, shall we? Give it the attention that it deserves. Or you think it does, at least. I'm sure plenty of people have heard of the beta pack that Geigen and I are working on, and this really gives me the exact same vibes. Upon inspecting the website, I seriously get them. Reading further into it and inspecting the Facebook, it appears that I was right with my assumption as well. Another title for the project appears to be Left 4 Dead 2 on Left 4 Dead 1, but the question is, why? If they want to enhance models, maps, and all the problems they listed, they could quite literally just very minutely mod Left 4 Dead 2 and have the exact same product. If people really want this, all the power to them. The gripe that I have is that they are attempting to directly get in contact with Valve, albeit the worst way possible, and have their project added as an official update to the game. It is perfectly fine to have a project like this, however, please refrain from going around claiming your job is to make Left 4 Dead a better game. Upon viewing, it appears he has numerous shutdown servers that ran these mods. Again, I don't have a problem with him wanting to mod the game, however, the problem, once again, stems from the fact that he wants it to become an official update. That is just absurd. As soon as we jump into the comments, someone else points out that they do not think Valve should go back and repair their 10-plus-year-old games. He points out flaws in the original poster's request, such as his request to update the map's VMF files, implying that they are outdated. And the next portion's actually gold. Why? Such an amazing response. The original poster hits back instantly with a baseless response. Valve, for the most part, does not check the general discussions tabs on games other than to monitor. Even if they did see this, I don't think they would make it a proper update or even endorse it. He seems to go off on a tangent about how you can't make your own maps without the base map VMFs being updated, which is completely false. I think that the original poster is not entirely educated as to how mapping works. All the files you need to make a map come free with the game. The original VMF files are not required and do not even come with the base game. The only way, to my knowledge, to obtain the VMF files of the campaigns is via BSP source and decompiling the BSP files. JAiZ continues on claiming that most people are waiting for updates. But why? The game is 12 years old and lost support numerous years ago. There's a modding scene for a reason, and that is how almost everyone gets their extra dosage of Left 4 Dead. From this argument, he thrusts into another baseless claim, that most players that play Left 4 Dead are using pirated copies of it. That isn't because it's buggy, pirated, or not up to date, it's because the game is 12 years old almost. He even goes so far as to ask for Valve to give him power and his friends to create official content for the game. As I emphasize later on, it seems like he simply wants to be known within the community and wants power. And this is worrying to someone who works on a project similar to his. JAiZ comes back to respond by, once more, insisting that he knows best for the Left 4 Dead community and claims that he and his team should be given power as special people in charge of everything involved. It seems that JAiZ, through the majority of this post, seems to think he is a step higher above other players. It becomes more evident when I begin to respond. My response consists of mostly everything I've expressed in this video, so I will only do a quick scroll of my response and a minor summary because I, like I said, essentially said everything. In response to his request for Valve to fix the errors in each map, I linked them to my survival glitches videos to provide an insight that people enjoy these kinds of things in games, and express that they can set apart the casual players from the more occasional one. I continue to call him out for how he's essentially wanting to turn Left 4 Dead 1 into Left 4 Dead 2, but simply seemed like he refused to put it as such. The part I most strongly disagree with, regarding the knives, I call out for being needless. There proceeds to be some minor banter between me and the other poster before the original poster finally responds. However, when JAiZ finally does hit me back with the response, he solidifies that he simply wants Valve to recognize him and his project, as well as he hopefully get a seat of power inside the Left 4 Dead community. He, through a few of his responses, holds what I interpret to be a high horse of sorts. He always acts as if he is the enthusiastic one and you are just a hater/pessimist. He responded by avoiding my conversation entirely with a, but I have also done it myself together with friends, proof and everything can be achieved with effort and without giving up. And if there's one person you shouldn't say this to, it is me. With all the work I've put into the beta pack and the loads of work that Geigen has over the last 10 years, we know it's possible with the right amount of effort. But nonetheless, he disregarded my argument by speaking like I was just a pessimist when I was actually criticizing his idea. Right after, he does mention the criticism shortly. However, he spins it off the rails quite quickly. That said, what I need is not to be criticized for what I ask. I need support. The Left 4 Dead community is divided. And to that, I would like to ask how so. I haven't seen any dividend inside the community whatsoever, so what exactly do you mean here? And that makes the game seem abandoned. So, if a divide makes the game seem abandoned, does that mean Overwatch is literally a ghost town? It's one of the most popular games out for the past few years, and has one of the most divided fanbases I've ever seen. We could bring everyone together, different versions of the game, all in one, and I'm sure that many things could be achieved if we agree. The problem here is, from what I've seen, not many people do agree with it, especially not trying to get it to be an official community update. And from there, Ninth hasn't responded. It's been a whole day, so I'll simply leave a link to the thread in the comments. That way, all those who are interested can keep their eyes on the thread. And if they're interested, hopefully there are some developments. In conclusion, it would appear that, through this single thread, Ninth has put himself, in my eyes at least, in a place of ignorance inside the Left 4 Dead community. He believes that Valve will genuinely see his message and possibly add him to their team and continue updating Left 4 Dead. As I mentioned prior, there is a modding scene for a reason. If they don't enjoy how the game is played, don't request a community update for it, make it a mod, keep it unofficial, because I know plenty of people who do not and would not want this to become an official update. It would completely ruin the original feeling of Left 4 Dead 1 and would essentially turn it into a Left 4 Dead 2 clone. And another thing is that don't go witch hunting them for this video. I'm simply putting out my thoughts and opinions on the whole topic and the idea of a community update. And especially this is not the way to go about it. Adding functions after 10 years that weren't in the original, it shouldn't be done that way. If you want to do it as a mod. Nonetheless, I digress. For now, this has been JAiZ. I hope you all enjoyed the video and hopefully learned something along the way. It may be pointless, it may be dramatic, but I felt that it needed to be made. And, I still don't have an intro, so, or an outro, so, bye.